All right, I'm going to try to keep it brief, but Everton just lost 2-0 to Norwich City at home, and it was pretty much a must-win game. And I think for the first time, I'm in agreement with the Silva out calls. I say that reluctantly because he seems like a good guy. He seems like a well-intentioned coach. I think the players like him. I just think he's not getting enough out of the team, given the quality that's in the team. I think the international break hurts teams like Everton because they have players that play for their country, and Norwich probably doesn't have many, if any. And Norwich sat 2 weeks and prepared for how to beat Everton, whereas Everton probably planned and prepared. I think Silva is one thing we hear is he's meticulous in his preparation for a game from week to week. But with your players out, some of your main guys out, Digne, Richarlison, Iwobi, how meticulous and how prepared can your team really be? And it looked like that on the pitch today. It looked like Norwich came in and said we've got to win this way, and they shut out any. For a large part of the game, they snuffed out any attacking promise that Everton had, picking off all the little quick back passes through the middle, comfortable with us crossing it to the in the penalty box, and they actually looked like the better team in the first half because they were getting better chances and they looked more offensive minded than Everton, and they were the away team. And this is a must-win game, and Silva, we know, is capable of winning games like this. I think a game after the international, one of the other international break was against West Ham, and he came out and played gangbusters. And of course, then we had Gomez and we had Bernard in. So those are two key players we don't have for the near future. And maybe that's, maybe all those injuries and things are really catching up to us, and Silva's doing his best. But it's just hard to argue that Everton's getting the most out of their manager when you look at other teams who are in similar positions, having spent less. I don't know that they have the same magnitude of injuries that Everton has, or have faced the same bad luck that Everton has with VAR and things. But you look at Lampard at Chelsea. I think his name's Lampard. That's just a bunch of young kids tearing it up now. Leicester, they just know what they're doing on the pitch. They get out there, they do it, they win every week. With Brendan Rodgers, all these promoted teams that come up, they do what they do, and they beat Everton. Everton have now lost to all three promoted teams, two of them at home. All those teams look confident when they get out on the field. I'm sure they've had to deal with some amount of bad luck or adversity, let's say, throughout the season, or maybe not. But I hate to say this because I sound like every other traditional Everton fan now, which is like, oh, if we want to get what we want to get, and then we got to do better. But that's kind of what it is. If Everton have spent all this money and want to be one of the top teams, you've got to put teams like Norwich City, which I heard has the second worst defense in the league. You got to put them away. You play your best team, your best 11, which was not Gylfi in the middle. Sigurdsson playing in the middle. And maybe because last game we won with that formation with him in there, but I don't know, man. I think he should have. Once he saw things starting to look a little lethargic and slow, he has to make the right change. You have to put a team like that is low in confidence. You have to give them no reason to feel like they have any business in that game early. Like, get the bad thoughts going early. And what Everton did was let a well-prepared Norwich City team who's been sitting 2 weeks preparing for how to beat Everton actually go, we got a chance. We got a shot at this. These guys are out of ideas. And I guess unfortunately, I feel like the coach is the last line of defense against that. You know, given what I mean is, given all the things against Everton this season, the injuries, the bad luck at VAR, the horrible things from past seasons where you've got players that just don't fit well together. The coach is the one that has to figure out a way to make it work and make you competitive. And Silva just hasn't done enough of that. He's done it some, but he hasn't done enough. And it's getting perilously close to sinking the season. And Everton are flirting too often with the relegation zone for my comfort. So I think he's got to go. I don't know if they'll have the guts to do it because they're going to play a bunch of top teams here soon, and that could further unstabilize an already unconfident bunch. You know, maybe they're not unconfident, but of a very inconsistent bunch. So who would they bring in? I don't know. Moyes, he didn't look good at West Ham. He didn't do good at Sunderland last. So I don't know if that's the right way to go. The only thing I can say for him is, from what I've heard, I wasn't a fan when he was coach, but he gets the team. He loves the club. He sort of is he was the last, I don't know if I could even say that. From what I hear, he kept Everton competitive and relevant for a stretch. I wish they would go for Pochettino. I think that probably would be too soon. I mean, the man was just fired several days ago. Like, he probably is, still somewhere in a closet crying or something. But no disrespect to him, but he'd probably be the best guy out there. Rafa Benitez is playing for some team or coaching for some team in China. I think he'd be a good call because that's a dude that, squoze every drop of juice from Newcastle and kept them competitive for years. And that's what Everton need, man. They need a guy where when you look, just when you think of they need a guy where you go, oh shoot, that Everton are now coached by him. We know we're gonna get this, and it's not gonna be easy. That's what Everton needs, man. A team that has some kind of principles. I don't care if it's solid defensive principles or solid offensive principles, but they're solid in what they do, and they make it hard to win. So we can quit worrying about, like, maybe as a fan you'll always question some decision the manager made, but it shouldn't be so often that you're questioning the manager. And I haven't been the one questioning the manager all the time, but all the fans are always questioning your manager. That's a problem. That means he's kind of iffy, and Everton are not in a position to have an iffy manager if they want to stay up. I say all that, and they could fire him, and then Everton pulls a Sunderland and starts going even further down. I'm sure that's happened to a number of teams where switching the coach didn't matter. Maybe Fulham last year. Anyway, I think I'm gonna try to put a pin in it there. Probably not the only fan echoing the same sentiment. I don't know, man. I guess if I had my druthers, I'd hope that Everton would just rip off the Band-Aid tonight. Sack Silva. Do your best to get Pochettino through the door, and go from there, man. One game at a time. Up the Toffees.